Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. It's Friday, August 21st. My name is Lincoln Shrike, joined by Gordon Mack. Gordon, it's been a bit since we've done a pod together. How have you been?
The question isn't how I have been. How have you been? You've not been on the podcast in 2 weeks plus. You have a new baby girl, right? So what's been going on in your life the past 2 weeks?
Well, I wake up every 2 hours and I burp a child and change diapers. It's pretty predictable, honestly. So you get used to the sleep schedule, and then it's not too bad. It's obviously very nice to have a new child. It's hard, but you get used to it quickly, and you have a new routine, and everybody gets in line, and you just kind of get through the first few weeks of a newborn not knowing anything, and you struggling to get acquainted with this child. So it's a lot of fun. It's a big challenge, of course, especially when you have two kids, as Kevin can probably attest. When both kids are crying at the same time, it's a whole different ball game. So but I'm happy to be back. Truth be told, on Wednesday we did a podcast, but we had some technical difficulties. So it was a false start. But I'm here. Hopefully this one goes according to plan, and I'm back for good now.
One more baby question. What's the one
Mhm.
thing? This baby number 2. What's the one thing you did not miss but now have to relive through? Like, what's like? Oh, I hated this part of infant child care. And what's the best part?
Oh yeah. There's at least with my two kids so far, there's just a period before like formal bedtime, about 7 to 8 p.m., where the child is just inconsolable crying, and there's not really any rhyme or reason for it. I mean, it's a kind of a good thing because bedtime's coming, but there's no explanation for it. And I forgot with my son, he had that period too, from like his was a little earlier, from like 6 to 8 maybe. They just won't stop crying, and so it's positive on the side of, bedtime's coming, but it's just so annoying and like hard to keep your nerves about you. So didn't miss that part. Of course, diapers. I mean, you just get used to that because there's so many of them. But the pre-bed like anger phase is not something I was prepared for again.
So it's kind of like athletes when we have right before our final rep, or like we know we have like 2 more reps to go. You have that whining, or like when a coach tells you like, okay, now you got to do them a mile. Like after you thought you're done with your workout, and the coach is like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do 1 more mile. You're like, you start crying.
I hadn't thought to acquaint that or to equate that to running, but you did a good job there. Yeah, I would hope that an athlete wouldn't be screaming at the top of their lungs after when they have another rep to go, but maybe some resort to that. It's a good comparison. I like it. I'll take it.
Well, you've been gone for 2 weeks. Me and Kevin kept people hopefully entertained. Kevin probably did more of the entertaining. I just talked back. But did you like FloTrack at all during the past 2 weeks, or what were you doing?
Yeah,
Were you
like
just kind of?
Kevin and I discussed this on Wednesday, the podcast that will never be. Yeah, I mean, I followed. I figured cross country was going to be wiped out. NCAA cross country was going to be wiped out in this time I was gone, and that ended up happening. At least, I guess there hasn't been like. There was the formal announcement, and then there was the hitting the 50% threshold. So it's kind of an interesting thing. It's like nobody knew for sure. I know Mark Emmert came out and said, no, we can't have fall championships. But with the uncertainty around football, it was a little confusing. And then they just hit the 50% threshold anyways, and it didn't really matter. So I followed that. And then, of course, with Monaco, I knew Monaco was going to be a good meet, and I think it exceeded expectations. So in that regard, yeah, I followed it. So I kept up with the beats of everything going on for sure.
Was Monaco the first track meet that your daughter watched? Like, was she in your arms while you were watching?
She definitely
Jacksepticeye?
did not. She is not. She can't recognize computer screens too well yet. So not yet. Although the other day, my son, who's almost 5, we were watching the meet in Hungary that we had, the Continental Tour. And I was just, wanting it to get back to the track action. He though was absolute, which you'll appreciate. He was loving the triple jump because he loves jumping, and he's like fascinated with there being sand involved. And I was thinking of you. I was like, oh man, because I know, Gordon, that's one of your favorite events. Just kidding. It was funny to see someone really appreciate the triple jump. And every time they did it, didn't matter if it was like a 16-meter jump or a 17.4 jump. He was like, whoa, So, and then he was practicing at home, jumping over my wife's yoga mat. So I don't know. I mean, he's not going to have the natural ability probably, but we've got a potential triple jumper now in my house. I'm kind of excited about it.
That's exciting. There you go. You gotta remember that moment. So then, 20 years from now, when he's at the Olympic final, you'll be like, hey, it was the Hungary meet in Sheshkavar.
Sheshkavar. Yeah.
So this weekend we have a bunch of more track. The Under Armour Sunset Tour, which is going to be live on Flow tomorrow. It's a quick little meet. I think it's like an hour and a half. I think there's like 5 races. And then we have the Diamond League. We have another Continental Tour meet in Tokyo. So a lot of track, man. It's almost as if there was no pandemic, right? It's just a typical track weekend.
It seems like it. Other than you look at the particulars of the Under Armour Sunset Tour meet, and the public's not being made aware of where the meet's actually being held, undisclosed location in California. So if you can get all the tracks in the state of California and you pick the right one, I imagine there's hundreds, if not thousands of tracks, and you can guess the right one, you could, I guess, show up, although you probably would be turned away. But they're not letting anyone know where this meet is being held. And it's going to be a pretty good meet. I mean, Edward Cheserek versus Joe Klecker, I'd watch that. I'm excited to see that. Cheserek's been rocking a mustache for the last few weeks or months. I'm excited to see that in action. Can he run under 13:10 with a mustache? I mean, all things I need to see in this pandemic shortened season.
Yeah, I remember during not early FloTrack days, but my early FloTrack days, we did a Stashies for Nashies music video, and we made a joke that Cheserek had a mustache, but he didn't really have a mustache. Now he has a mustache.
Now he has a legit mustache. So yeah,
it's a legit. It's very strong. So looking at the field, obviously, it's a women's 800, men's mile, women's 15, men's 5K, women's 5K. I guess we'll just go through each one because there's only 5. Women's 8, Brenda Martinez. She ran 2:02 recently. Coburn's in the race. Corey McGee. I think the interesting will be McGee's having a good season. Do you think she can run sub 2:01?
I know her PR.
What's the over-under there?
Yeah, I'd say the over-under is 2:01. She has a PR of 2:01, and she's been running really, really well. And I didn't know until writing the preview yesterday that she had a 2:01 PR. Wouldn't have anticipated it being that fast. That's pretty impressive for a 1,500-meter runner. Obviously, Shelby Houlihan sets the standard there, but for everyone else, 2:01 is pretty solid for a 1,500-meter runner. So coming off a 4:03 PR last week at Music City, real good shot. And, Martinez, you imagine a couple weeks after running 2:02, which, by the way, was her first 800 in like over 2 years, she's probably going to be going faster. Yeah, I think this race is probably going to be run around 2 flat, and we'll see how many can get it done. I'm also excited to see Coburn. She hasn't run an 8, I think, in a decade. So first, what can she possibly do? She's done, I think, miles and 1,500s up to this point. No steeples, I guess, this season, and now she's really dropping down. So we'll see how she can test those wheels. I think her PR is like 2:09, so I think she will. I think she'll break that.
Still waiting for Coburn though to run that 5K, right? Just like, come on, there's a 5K in this meet. She's pacing.
She's pacing the 5K. No, it doesn't count. Definitely doesn't count. I don't know if it's going to happen this season. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to happen. It could be she just go, she just decide, hey, I'm never going to do 5K. Screw it.
Mm-hmm. What do you have against 12.5 laps? Jeez.
I know, right? Women's 1,500. Sinclair Johnson makes her debut. That's kind of the main thing I'm looking forward to there. Do you think we'll
Yeah.
see a Sinclair Johnson who runs a sub 405, or we can see a Sinclair Johnson who runs like 6 minutes because she has to for the Nike contract?
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow. You think this could be a jog? I hadn't gone that route. The competition, if Sinclair Johnson's on a normal level, or what we saw last year, this shouldn't be that competitive a race. The next fastest person, I think, has run 4:11. She's much faster than that. She herself has run 2 flat, so she has really, really good speed. Yeah, a couple questions here. Like, you're right. Is she going to try, or is this going to be a Matt Centrowitz 3-minute 800 type of an effort to satisfy a contract? Not really sure. She's supposed to be joining Bowerman Track Club at some point, so will she be wearing the Bowerman jersey? My suspicion says no, but I guess we don't really know yet. That'll be something interesting to watch. But I hadn't honestly thought that she might just be jogging this. Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I'll be more of a joke about the jog. I don't think anyone here is going to jog in a.
Yeah.
I think people are going to jog in races that everyone is saying, "Hey, we're all jogging," like the way the sprint meets were, and how Bowerman said, "Hey, we're all jogging." It'll just be really awkward if like one guy's like, "I'm not going to jog," and then it just kind of ruins the whole purpose. Yeah, I think she should have. I mean, is she officially on Bowerman? Has Bowerman made an official announcement? I mean,
no.
We found out via like the 5th paragraph of a random like
track and field news article. Yeah.
Track and field news article. So maybe it just hasn't been confirmed yet. I don't know. Maybe she's waiting till next. Maybe waiting for her apartment lease to be up. Maybe that's the thing.
I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting because you would have thought once that became news there, you would have thought they would have made a move because Bowerman, they made that announcement about Gabriella Debussy-Stafford, and she's not joined the team yet, but they haven't made a similar announcement about Sinclair Johnson. So maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe something hit a bump in the road and that's not going to happen. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, if she's wearing the BTC kit this weekend. So she should be the big favorite in that one. I'll be interested to see how that goes, just knowing that it is her season debut and she hasn't raced. I think since indoors. So, and then she only ran like one race indoors. So it has not been very many races for her since she finished 4th at USA's in July of 2019, which feels like 10 years ago.
What are your thoughts on the 5K? This is going.
The men's 5K.
I feel like this podcast right now seems very just like straight down the middle.
Down the middle.
We need to inject some fire takes on these races.
Yeah. My take is I think Joe Klecker is going to give Edward Cheserek a run for his money this weekend in this 5,000. The PRs are way different. Ches has got a 13:04. I think Klecker's only 13:30, but that's kind of the story of being only in the college system versus being out on your own and getting to go to Europe and whatnot. I think Klecker's much closer to a 13:10 to 13:15 type guy, and who knows if Cheserek's really fit. He could drag Klecker to a huge PR. You also have Ollie Hoare in there, who I know is a 1,500 guy, but who knows? He just ran 3:34. He's clearly fit. I'm still going to go with Cheserek. That's not an off-the-wall take, of course, but I will be very excited to see how these on guys try to stick with the Skechers star. Some niche brand matchups going on here, if you will.
I like that.
What are you talking on this race? Yeah.
Cheserek is good. It's a big unknown, right? Because he hasn't raced since indoor, right? Did he race? Yeah. Did he even race indoor? I think he did. Yeah, he did. He ran 5K a couple times, or 3K or something.
And he ran well. He ran well in a 5K, if I remember right.
He hasn't done anything. And I did reach out to his coach, Stephen Haas, and I asked, like, hey, what's the pace going to be? He said Rich is trying to get it pace, but if not, it's just going to be a race. There's not like hey, we're trying to run this a sub 13 or a sub whatever. It's just more of a get out there and race each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. It's a good field for Ches to race. It's not like he's racing against Cholimo and, Yomif Kujelcha or something like that. He's just, racing against guys in around his age range who can compete. Joe Klecker has yet to have a fast 5K on his
Yeah.
resume. Maybe this would be his first, like you said, uh, more in the 13 teens as opposed to a 1330s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's the race I'm most excited for, mainly because it's just the Ches factor, and you just haven't
Oh
seen
yeah.
him, right? He's kind of been
Yeah.
hiding in flag, just doing his thing, growing out that
Right.
mustache. If you have time to grow out that mustache, you, hopefully at the same time he's developing a superior training regimen to get ready to run a fast time. That's what
I
we
feel
care.
like the mustache is always a sign that you're like really taking training so seriously that you don't have time to navigate your upper lip. And I look at that as a big positive that pushes the ball even further in his favor here. His last race,
Dude,
February 28th, indoors, he ran 13:09. So yes, that's been excuse me, it's been 6 months ago, but I think a similar level of performance is definitely possible. We see all these distance athletes coming off having not raced in 6 months, and then they go out and crush it. A la, I know Joshua Cheptegei's at a different level, but I don't think there's any excuse not to run fast, even in the pandemic. You've had plenty of training, plenty of speed workouts. I think they're going to be ready to go, and maybe he doesn't run a PR, but a 13:0 performance well within his range. Dependent on getting a pacer. If they can get a pacer, obviously it makes me a little anxious. If Ritz is getting the pacer, it's probably going to be for whatever they're trying to get Klecker to run. But if they can get out in front of Ches and crank it up to 13:10 pace, we could see something pretty fast.
Yeah. And then the women's 5K got Battle of NCAA champions, Monson and Danny Jones. Yeah, I'm waiting for like that Danny Jones race where we're like, wow, you know, like his
Mm.
in college. Obviously, she won the cross country title. She was easily won the 5K. But we kind of were like, yeah, you're winning the 5K, but like we're not seeing you in the 1500 against Jessica Hall and Sinclair Johnson, right? And
Yeah,
then we're like, all right, we were like 2020 will be the year of Danny Jones kind of like
right,
showing
right,
like I'm legit, where she was entered in the 800 and the mile, right? And we're like, oh wow, okay, now she's gonna go up against Nia Akins, then she's gonna go in the outdoor season, just show off. But we haven't seen that, right? And then now that
right.
she's on the team boss, I mean, she's in some races, but she's not like showing like she's the next great female American athlete.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm waiting for that moment because I feel like she has
Yeah,
that talent to be like the big newcomer, but she has yet to really kind of put up a performance that's like, hey, watch out. Like what I would want to see from her would be like I want to see her run like sub 15, you
yeah,
know?
for sure, sure.
Because I feel like
I,
like would you rather have Vanessa Frazier or Danny Jones? You should. Most people be like Danny Jones, right? But like Vanessa Frazier can run sub 15. Danny Jones has run like
you
15
can run sub
teens or 1520s.
14:50. Yeah, her
Yeah.
her PR is due to go down. It's only 15:17. Here's the thing. Obviously this is a small meet, so it's not like it's gonna be headline grabbing if she was to win this. But this is a sneaky deep women's field. 9 women have broken 15:20, which I know 15:20 when you got an American record holder at 14:23 doesn't scream fabulous, but I think this is a field that is capable of somebody dipping under 15 minutes. When you talk about, you got the marathoners from NAZ Elite, Taylor and Bruce. You've got, like you mentioned, Jones and Monson. You got Sharon Loketti in here. Dom Scott, who's got the fastest PR, the lone sub 15. I mean, it's a pretty good field. And I could see Jones winning this and really having that breakout race and maybe scaring 15 minutes. I think she's fully capable of that. She ran 15:17 indoors. I don't think that was entirely indicative of her ability at all. You're right. She just hasn't had that, like, maybe since winning NCAA cross, she hasn't necessarily had that wow moment. And this could potentially be it. This is a strong field of pretty experienced professionals, and winning this would be a big step towards possibly her getting in the conversation of being a 5,000 meter Olympic team making contender, because she's not that at this point, right? I mean, with the ascent of Krista Schweizer, with some of the other Bowerman women, with Shannon Rowberry getting back on form, she's not in that mix. And maybe she runs the 1500 at the trials, but this could be a big race for her to get in that conversation, because she's not yet. And we'll see. This is the field for her to do it. This should be a good one. That's right around 15 minutes.
This weekend, we also have the Stockholm Diamond League, a lot of repeat athletes. And then before we talk about that, I do want to talk about some other kind of news that did hit the wire. I'm not sure if you noticed. Brooks gave an incentive-laden contract to a YouTuber. I mean, he's not just a YouTuber. He was a collegiate athlete, ran for Georgetown. His name's Spencer Brown. He's a 339 guy, which is good. It's not bad, but it's not like he wasn't in the category of a Josh Kerr, Oliver Hoare type person.
Sure.
And they signed him. Apparently, basically, he gets to spend the next year training with the Brooks Beasts to earn a spot on the team if he can hit certain performance markers. And if he does, then the deal will get extended. What are your thoughts on Brooks hiring Spencer Brown, former Georgetown athlete, to a pro deal?
Well, the optics of it are interesting, right? As there's only been a handful of pros, NCAA athletes, to signing pro contracts in this pandemic kind of strange season. It's interesting. You look at a pro athlete and why they're signing shoe brand deals is marketability. And you would think someone who has a presence online, they certainly have marketability. And as has been mentioned, he's a solid runner. You're not going to normally get a pro contract for a 339 guy. And I think his skills at the professional level are strictly limited to the 1500 mile. So that said, this isn't a typical pro deal, right? He's kind of earned it. And I know Brooks is going to be counting on him, obviously documenting it on his social media channels. So it's an interesting thing. I think as we kind of discussed this through text message, as you have mentioned, Brooks has kind of done stuff like this before, where they take chances that maybe other brands don't, whether it be with signing beer milers, whether it be taking on a late stage late career Nick Simmons. Who else am I missing? They've signed seems some off the wall type things before, and this falls right in line with that. I'm curious. It's obviously a lot of work. It sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not. But to have an online presence and to be an influencer of sorts is a lot of work. You have to obviously post a ton of videos, and you got to be very, very, very committed to your social media game and editing videos and whatnot. I'm curious if other athletes will follow this model, like saying, well, in a traditional sense, I'm not going to be getting picked up by the Brooks Beast. I'm not going to be, a target for a brand, but possibly if I have a bunch of followers and I'm a strong enough runner, maybe I can get the Spencer Brown type of a deal. Obviously, I mean, that's not going to be everyone, and most people are not going to be documenting every step of their running career. But this is interesting, right? It makes sense from the fact of you see what is the point of a brand deal. It's marketing the products to the everyman. Well, that makes all the sense in the world for somebody who has a bunch of followers online. So while it doesn't fit the traditional mold, and you're kind of like rolling your eyes in some senses, because you're like, well, they couldn't have used that money on maybe somebody more worthy from a strictly performance standpoint, it makes sense from what they're trying to do, and which is sell shoes and sell gear. What was your reaction?
Yeah. I mean, my reaction was it makes sense. And it's kind of like, it's just like, I kind of laughed, but like laughed in like a positive way. I was like, oh, okay, of course. Like that, I'm 32 now, right? And I'm kind of slowly realizing like I'm not part of the demographic as much anymore, right? Because what 18 to 35, so I'm getting out of that 35 range, right? I'm going near there, and the content that I consume is very different from the content someone who's 10 years younger than me consumes, and I'm always like kind of like flabbergasted when I see like these new wave of YouTubers and running vloggers, and like they grow these massive followers. I'm kind of like, I don't get it, and the reason why I don't get it is because I'm just too old to get it. But it's kind of like, of course, right? This makes sense. Like this is how it works. Like these people, this generation has figured out how to hook people, how to get people interested in their content, and more power to you. Like respect. You're playing the game and you're winning the game. And Spencer, I mean, again, 339 is no joke. Like not many people wake up and can run 339. I mean, what is that the equivalent of? Like a
356, 357, right?
Yeah, 356. So, hey, sub 4 miler. Yeah, the worst thing, you're at least going to be a great like training partner, right? Like anyone who's a sub 4 miler can help train with, give Josh Kerr someone to pace like a rabbit. You know what I mean? Like think about it. I mean, Brooks had a glorified rabbit guy in Matt Scherer. Remember, he was the one who was pacing all of Rudisha's 800s. So he's going to be a great pacer. He's going to be a great influencer. And the bonus would be, hey, maybe he figures out a way and he gets really good and is able to have like a massive PR and run like 336, make a US final, maybe, get six and they get selected to like a Pan Am team or something like that. Like there's so many like that's all like icing on the cake. Whereas the foundation will be he'll be able to be a good training partner because he's fit, and he'll be able to be a great influencer because he has a platform that, let's be honest, people are going to follow what is his YouTube channel, Athlete Special, more than they would follow the Brooks Beast YouTube channel. Like as much as like a brand or like a team would want to like put out, did we lose? Oh, as much as a brand or team would love to create a social media presence, it doesn't work. You need it to be authentic, and authentic comes from an actual YouTuber. Because more people are going to learn about Brooks on the Athlete Special YouTube channel than they will on a Brooks YouTube channel. And I think recognizing that as genius from marketing.
Yeah, what is it? What are we on now? Gen Zs or whatever.
Gen Z.
They're very focused on seemingly the authentic content, right? They don't like brand stuff, which I mean, who does? But that you're completely right there. What I'm interested in, his contract runs through 2021. What is the performance? I wish they would have kind of announced like what he has to do to like actually get brought on as a full-time. Yeah, I know he's on the Brooks Beast and he'll get to train with Josh Kerr and whatnot every day, but like what standards does he have to hit to like become a full-time member after 2021? I think being transparent at Brooks, or I'm sure he will be, but is transparent about like what exactly he needs to do. Is it like you have to make the Olympic trials final? That would seem a little harsh, but or you have to make the Olympic trials semis to be brought on, like, which is a much more attainable goal, but still would be hard. Because I mean, this guy's got to make it to USA's. It's not a guarantee. Of course, he's going to even make it to the Olympic trials. It'd be cool if that was laid out right now, and so we're like, all right, we know what this guy needs to do, because it's gonna be a fun story to follow next year, I think. Right? Is this YouTuber, and he's more than just a YouTuber. It's not like Jake Paul is trying to make the 1500 US trials final, but he's trying to mix it up with the Centros and the Ingles of the world. It'd be cool to know what exactly he has to do to earn a contract past 2021. And I don't think it was said in the press release. They said he has to hit certain performance things, but would love to know what those are.
I mean, I bet there's like different triggers. Like I bet if he makes the trials final, that's going to be like a guarantee for like an extension, right? Because
that's hard,
it's like,
though.
all right, if you're able to,
hard.
it'd be hard, right? But that's like the Super Bowl, right? Making the trials final, then you're like, all right, we'll ride you for the next 2 years. We'll give you like a 2-year extension, right? Because if you can make a trials final, anything can happen. And then they'll probably say, all right, but if you don't make it, Maybe it's you make the semifinals and well, it's only 2 rounds or 3 rounds. I don't know, but they probably
3.
pick a time. I mean, what 3 rounds? What would you say is a time that he would need to run
Yeah. Let's
that you
run
would
time.
say that
Yeah.
what's the time?
He needs to be able to run times that his teammates are running, obviously excluding Josh Kerr. Josh Kerr is one of the 7 best
Yeah.
1500 meter runners in the world, but he needs to be able to run probably 336, 335, right? Consistently. Looking
What
at
if he
his
was
skills,
consistently 337?
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be performance at meets. It's not. I don't think it's going to be time based. It's going to be like, how do you do? It's going to be a little awkward though if he starts beating some of his Brooks Beast teammates. Obviously, save Josh Kerr, and he's like on this performance based contract, and they're not. He's gonna be like, well, I'm beating these guys, so, and I'm documenting it on my YouTube channel. Maybe he can sign like get an online petition, like pressure Brooks to sign me for 2 more years. Who knows? It's gonna be a
Well,
drama.
he could probably create his own promo code and then be like, "You're not going to unsign me because look how many people are using this promo code to buy shoes. Like, I
Exactly.
literally am making you profit by like." You make more money than what you give to me, like I am a revenue generator. So
That's the galaxy brain thing. Does he even need to perform, or is it just all in the YouTube? The Brooks just want to have an influencer on their side. Uh, I don't know. I'm wondering who's like pissed off about this though. Is it the people that that crushed him in college in the 1500 that don't have a deal right now? Or are they like, come on, man, what the heck?
I don't.
Like
I mean, I don't think most people aren't. I think most people get it. I don't. If you're pissed off
yeah
about it, you're just like a bitter human being, and
yeah
you're just like not fun to be around. I mean, I
mm-hmm.
thought that same way about people who were upset about a beer mile or getting a scholarship, a sponsorship. It's like, sorry, but like, we're the idea that a sponsorship goes out and that means you don't get one. I don't think it's true. I think it's not a 1-for-1 deal. Like I think the money
yeah
that they're putting on Spencer Brown isn't like money that they would have put in on the guy who would have finished third at the indoor mile. Like I just think I don't
mm-hmm.
think it's equal. I think they kind of I think it's a different category, whatever. But I don't think anyone's upset. I mean, you run 339, so I mean, even if he doesn't improve 339 and he's like just continuously runs like 340s, that is a great training partner. You don't need to
Mm-hmm.
be
Mm-hmm.
running 336s to be able to hang in workouts, right? Like,
Mm-hmm. No, you're right.
like,
Are his
hey,
teammates going to get a
maybe he could be their glorified, like I said, glorified pacer. Like, hey,
yeah
how do we get Josh Kerr to run 333? Oh, we need someone to go out there and run a 152 800. Oh, I can do that because I'm a 340
mm-hmm.
guy and I can run 152, right? So, boom. And you're
yeah
not asking someone like Isaac Yorks to like sacrifice a racing opportunity to pace Josh. You're like, hey, we have someone who can do it, and he's more than willing to do it because he's just happy to be here.
mm.
You need those guys.
Yeah, good point. Those teammates get annoyed though when they constantly have a vlogging camera in their face. That's to be determined. Yeah, I'm going to be fascinated to see how this plays out. Okay, quickly before we run out of time, Stockholm Diamond League. You mentioned there's a lot of repeat events. I'm not going to complain about seeing Donovan Brazier, about seeing Carson Warholm, about seeing Timothy Chariot versus Ingebrigtsen. Start there with Chariot versus Ingebrigtsen. Ingebrigtsen closer than he's ever been last week in Monaco to Timothy Chariot. Now we've got a race a little closer to his home soil up there in the Nordic countries as they race in Stockholm. Who are you taking? You think Chariot stays on top, or you like an Ingebrigtsen who just broke the European record?
I mean, the correct take is Tim Chariot because you're never like it's the one where if you're wrong, you're like you're dumb for being wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're right, you get no credit for it because it's like, oh yeah, that was an easy decision, right? It's like always
Yeah.
picking, the Warriors to win the title, right? When on their run, it's like you look stupid if you don't pick them. I
Mm-hmm.
think I think Jacob isn't going to be ready to beat him until next year. So I'll still go with Chariot.
Mm. Yeah, I'm going to go the opposite way. I do think the race was close last week simply because Chariot was so aggressive with some bad pacers that it nearly cost him. He was really tired by the end. I thought he was going to get caught in the last lap. Didn't. But no, I think this is the race. Ingebrigtsen's not taken over for good by any means. Timothy Chariot's still very young, still very much at the beginning of his prime. But I think Ingebrigtsen takes him here. That's gonna be the headline coming out of this meet. So we'll see. I don't think it's gonna be as fast as Monaco. This track has proven over the years to not be, I don't think, one of the faster tracks on the circuit, but I think Ingebrigtsen finds a way to beat him. We'll see. This meet, by the way, goes down on Sunday. Didn't make that clear. And then the Under Armour Sunset Tour at an undisclosed location is Saturday. So back-to-back fun track action. Other races, we got Donovan Brazier coming back in the 8. Would have loved to seen Bryce Hoppel coming back against him. A little bit of a rematch after their close finish. We do not get that, but Brazier, I imagine he'll come away with the victory. This field, it's got some dudes in it. Like, don't get me wrong, but I don't see anybody right now that's going to give it to Donovan Brazier. The interesting one though is the British young star, kind of in the mold of Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Max Bergen, who is very young. I need to look up how young he is, but he's been like an age group star for many years, and he's only 18 years old, and he just ran 1:44.7 a couple weeks ago, or I guess last week. How fast will he go going up against the world champ in a really quality field? That's going to be interesting. But a lot of the same guys that we saw last week: Ferguson Rotich, Marco Arop, Amel Tuca, Wesley Vasquez, who nearly beat Brazier at the 600 this week in Hungary. It's a long-winded way to say this is a pretty exciting one, and you add in that young star and seeing how fast he can go relative to Brazier. It's going to be one to watch.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Do you think Brazier breaks 143?
Yeah, I think so. I think he kind of after his Monaco. I think after his Monaco race, he's kind of like, I didn't feel like I had a good race. I didn't. Because they went out a little bit slow. I think he's building up for a big splash. I think that splash maybe happens this weekend. Maybe not. I'm not sure how many more races he has planned. Like, does he plan on keep on going? Is this last one?
No, I think this is it. Yeah, this is it.
Okay,
pretty sure.
So who's going to run in the second wave of Diamond Leagues? Like, who's going to run in the September ones? I wonder.
It's a great question. They've
more
called
European
me.
People.
They've called me. They're like, "Hey, what are you thinking? What distance you want?" No, I'm just kidding.
Your son's gonna enter the triple jump.
Yeah, he's big. He's looking to make it to the sand, which he would not be able to do. I have no idea because I just didn't realize there's so many meets left. Like, holy cow!
Yeah.
There's I guess some of these aren't happening. They've still got Eugene up here, which is not happening.
But Lausanne, and then 2 days later Brussels, and then you have
Paris,
Rome, or you have Italy. Paris is canceled. You have Italy, and you have Kenya. No, that Kenya's. You have Doha.
Send me back to Doha for the hummus and the souk waqif. I'm ready to go. Yeah, there's a lot left. Too bad Brazier's done. I believe I saw that this is going to be it for him. So we'll see. I mean, maybe since it is the last race, he's really going to go for it and just say, I'm going to try to run one. I'm going to try to run an American record. I doubt it, but because like I said, this track not super, super fast. Last year was really slow meet. I think that was some weather related things, but yeah, this track's not anywhere on the level of Monaco, but we'll see. What else do we have? We got Mondo going in the pole vault. I mean, he's going to win. That's pretty much how that works every time, right? And then Carson Warholm going to dominate the 400-meter hurdles. Those events can be a little boring when you consider how good those guys are. And especially in the 400 hurdles, when you don't have Rai Benjamin there, you don't have Samba. The 400 hurdles is just completely the Warholm show. and he can carry event all by himself. But it'd be nice to see some of those other guys. So a decent Diamond League. Obviously, with the pandemic, it's hard to have a great one, but I'll be watching on Sunday.
Me too. Should be good. Anything else to add?
No, I think
the London the London
What?
field was announced, but we can we'll break that down next week. Something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But there are Americans: Jared Ward,
There are Americans.
Molly Seidel, and Sarah Hall. So that should be exciting.
Jared Ward. Yeah.
And Jared Ward. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that in much more detail next week. For myself, Lincoln Shrike, he is Gordon Mack. We'll see you on Monday.
Email the pod.